Hello and welcome back to the MindfulBellie YouTube channel. I'm Ellie, your health and emotional eating coach. The purpose of this channel is to teach you tools to break through sugar addiction, binge eating, and really transform your relationship with food. So another reason I used to overeat, and I see a lot with the people I work with, is eating too fast or being distracted while we eat. So if you are on the go constantly eating, if you're watching Netflix and having bowls of ice cream and just downing it with not paying attention, the brain doesn't get to register what's actually happening. It's not registering the eating experience. And digestion begins before we even put food to our lips. Digestion begins with seeing our food, with smelling our food. We start producing digestive enzymes and our stomach acid. And when that doesn't happen, all of a sudden you're just shoveling food into your mouth. The brain doesn't get the satiation signals it's supposed to. And so then you may eat all this stuff and then 30 minutes later you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. Or you're just looking for food constantly because you never got that experience. Your brain never got the experience of having a meal. So I encourage you today to slow down so you can feel satiated for your meals. So I'm gonna give you a couple tips to create a meal ritual to make this happen. So first tip in slowing down and being present with your meal is allowing yourself to have that presence with your meal. So often we think that we don't have enough time to eat, but eating really doesn't have to take that much time. You can give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes to just be with your food. And even if you can't commit to doing that every meal, just start with one. Pick breakfast, lunch, dinner, and commit that this week you try that out. So put your food on a plate, not eating out of bags or bowl or big servings of things that often also fuels overeating. So portion it out, put it on a plate, and sit down. Sit down, really see your food, taste your food, smell your food. Put your fork down between bites. And one thing that's really, really helpful is before you even start eating is to ground. A lot of times we go to eat and we're in a stressed out state and our body's in this fight or flight state, which means digestion is shut down. So in order to get into our optimal digestive mode, we need to be out of that fight or flight. So one very simple thing that you can do is to take some rounds of breath. One of my favorite breathing patterns is the 5-5-7 breath. It's a 5-second inhale, a 5-second hold, and a 7-second exhale. You could repeat that ideally 10 times, but even if you only do 1 cycle of breath or 3 cycles of breath, or just take some deep belly breaths before you start eating, it can massively transform how you show up for that meal. So first tip, sit down, engage your senses, and breathe. Next tip is to add a speed bump. So this is something, you basically divide your plate in half, and when you get to that halfway point, it's just a sign for you to pause. To pause, put your fork down, take a couple breaths again, and assess where you are on your fullness scale. How full do you feel? Ideally, we're shooting for, so if we have a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being not full at all, 10 being so full we're about to burst, we wanna shoot for like a 7. A 7 is when we're satiated from food, we're energized from food, not stuffed and sleepy. So ask yourself, like, where am I at right now? Do I really need to keep eating? It's totally fine if you do want to keep eating, just to take that pause and have intention for like, how do I want to feel after this meal? I want to be able to go do things. I don't want to be stuffed and sluggish. And then one thing that's also really helpful, I know for me, I used to continue eating as a form of procrastination. Like I didn't want to go do the next thing. I didn't want to go back to work or whatever it might be. So I would just keep eating. What really helped me with that was creating a post-meal ritual. This is where you have something to do after your meal, kind of like a buffer between having to go back to work or having to do the laundry. And it's something that's relaxing, something that you enjoy, that you can signal to your brain, the meal is done. So for me, this was club soda, or it could be tea. You can go for a walk, listen to music. But give yourself something that gives you a cue that's like, okay, we're done eating, and a sense of calm. So after you assess, like, hey, where am I at on my fullness scale, ask yourself, how do I want to feel after this meal? Am I actually still hungry? And remind yourself, you can always eat again. You know, one thing I hear for a lot of people say is they've been conditioned to always finish their plate. So if that's you, I want you to start practicing purposefully not finishing your plate. Like leaving a bite on your plate just to retrain yourself that that's not necessary. You can take it to go. And one thing people also tell me is like they don't want to throw it out because it's a waste. When I kind of rebuttal that with overeating, when you are overeating, you are draining your energy. If you're overeating because you feel like you're wasting your food, well, that's wasting your energy. That's wasting the way you show up in the world. You can always take your food to go and then remind yourself that you can eat again. So if you are hungry in 30 minutes, like you can grab something else. So quick recap, slow down, sit down, put your food on a plate, take some breaths, calm your state, get out of that fight or flight state and into your rest and digest state before you start eating. So ask yourself, am I about to eat under stress? Take those breaths. Use this speed bump, divide your plate in half, to help you pause during your meal and slow back down and check in with your fullness scale. How full am I? Am I at that 7? And use that post-meal ritual to cue yourself that the meal is over and to give yourself something to do. I hope this is helpful. Reach out in the comments, let me know what you think, and subscribe to the channel if you want more tips on how to overcome overeating.